Louisiana Football Magazine since 1996. He's hosted Louisiana Football Magazine television since 2005. The show is seen statewide on Tuesday nights at 6:30 p.m. He spotlights prep players and programs throughout the state of Louisiana. He's promoted prep sports, championed the product for the better part of 2 decades now. Great friend, good to have a warm welcome for Lee Brecheen of Louisiana Football Magazine and Louisiana Football TV. Lee?
Thanks for having me, Ken. Glad to be here. And first of all, hope you enjoyed the magazines that we brought today. This is from preseason. It came out this summer. And it's got every high school in it and every college in the state. We've done that since 1996. I was counting everything up. I know you're a stat guy, Ken, when it comes to stuff. But I went to 105 practices last year, high school practices, 105 teams, and over 101 games. And I'll do that again this year. And that's how I keep up with all the kids in the state. You've got 300 high schools. And you've got more high schools that don't have football teams. But you got 300 and something high schools. Counting the MSPA league, you've got another 12 or 15 private schools on top of that. A lot of talent in Louisiana this year. I heard someone say when last recruiting season was over, it was a down year, and I laughed. You know, it's never a down year in Louisiana. It's just a matter of what position is stronger than the other position. There's a lot of talent in Louisiana overall. North Louisiana has got a ton of kids. South Louisiana, New Orleans has a lot of talent. In the last 3 years, it's picked up to the old days. You know, LSU is, I know, Ken, we were talking a little bit about LSU. I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Obviously, the key to their season is the Auburn game. I think if Brandon Harris has a great game, his confidence is going to go to the top, and then all of a sudden you could be looking at a win against Florida, who's struggling at quarterback and defensively. But the Auburn game is going to really impact LSU's season. You know, they'll be out of the race if they lose that one, basically. But if they win that game, they can go on a winning streak. Not a lot of good defenses in the SEC. Everybody in the SEC is offensively loaded, except Alabama's got a pretty good defensive front seven. Even if A&M, if you watched the Arkansas game the other day, A&M's really not a dominant defensive team. They're an offensive team. Arkansas is an offensive team with a running game, strong O-line. Ole Miss is more of a defensive team still. And Mississippi State is more of a defensive team. So if Brandon Harris can really get that confidence, he's got a lot of talent. They've got the receivers, Malachi Dupree, Travin Durrell, the receiver from Neville, who's not getting the ball a lot, but will be. So they've got a good, Fournette's coming on. But as far as high school football, I'm enjoying watching the programs this year. Destrehan has got a phenomenal team. West Monroe's back, even though they lost their starting quarterback. Their defense is phenomenal. They have a sleeper offensive tackle. I can't tell Coach over here from Tulane, we can't talk recruiting, but they got a 6'6", 290-pound offensive tackle that backed up Cam Robinson and runs a 5 flat. He can play ball. But there's a lot of sleepers. I love those sleepers, and people say, well, they don't have sleepers anymore because of the internet. I think the internet has a lot of overrated players, and you still got a lot of great players that aren't ranked. And this ball game, the football is shaped the same way. It's still the same game. It's a 100-yard field. It's the same rules, but the talent, you have to watch film. When I was watching film, and I still watch a lot of film, but I was watching 10,000 hours of film, and Coach knows what I'm talking about. To watch every high school one game, it's an hour. Somebody's got to sit down and watch that hour times 10,000 hours for 300 schools if you want to watch 2 or 3 games of school. I did that for 14 years. And I could sit down and tell you the players, from the players that had the stats to the great high school players, and I still do that. I still watch about 5,000 hours. But, you know, Coach would probably back me up on that, Coach Johnson, but, you know, you have to watch film still. Highlight tapes are not the answer. Stats are good, but they're not the answer. Camps are good, but it's not how good a football player a kid is. Helmet and shorts is different. Then when that receiver and that DB lock up in man coverage, and he's going to get hit, he's got pads on. You don't do that in camps. So recruiting has changed. I'm still old school coach. I still look for football players. I still look for kids who play the game, that bring intensity, they're leaders. But I think a lot of college teams, some of the big schools are recruiting more on the camps, more on the rankings, more than watching all that 10,000 hours of film I'm talking about. But, you know, I love Louisiana. I wish these guys great success. I think Tanzel Smart, Hilliard, Veal, all the young players, Tanner Lee, got some talent coming up, Coach. John Eric, my favorite player, he signed him at Miami, Reggie Wayne. This guy signed, I think, CJ, yeah. But you look at the players that have come out of John Eric High School. Mike Phillips was probably the last big-time recruit linebacker, right, Corey? As far as a big-time linebacker, Colorado. Libero was good, but I'm talking about Mike Phillips. 1992, when he had Johnny Mitchell, went to LSU, and Theo Williams went to LSU. That was a pretty good team. And then, you know, East Jefferson, the job they've done, Mark Martin, and the job they've done is phenomenal. I mean, watching those guys beat Neville last year, Ed Nakar, I mean, those programs what a great job they did at East Jeff. And, but, you know, we could talk for a long time. No coaches next. We got Chuck after that. But any questions on recruiting?
Yeah. Lee, there was a kid that committed to LSU earlier this year. Then he flipped about 2 weeks ago to Oklahoma State. And I know we have an Oklahoma State alum in the audience. It's not me. But what happened there is Coach, I believe it's Gundy at Oklahoma State. Is he something special as far as Division I is concerned with that program? Because he seems to be recruited nationally.
Well, let me go back to the question of the kid from Central High. That's my old high school. I think he's put on a little bit too much weight, and he's an in-between player now. He's not a DB. He's probably going to be a linebacker. And so I mean, we can't talk recruiting, but Kevin Henry was a 210-pound freshman. And me and Ken were talking about this earlier, but sometimes you can arrive too fast. I mean, he was a 14-year-old, 210, 6'1" freshman that outran everybody. Getting back to the old recruiting, right? Well, now he's 225, 6'1". He's not a safety anymore, and he runs about a 4.7. So, you know, if Oklahoma State wants him as a Mike linebacker, it's a good pickup, but LSU needs a safety. So that's the question to Oklahoma State. As far as Coach Gundy, but he did for all that weight, Coach. But Sion Pelehi, who signed last year at Oklahoma State, running back, a little update on him. I talked to the coach from East Ascension the other day. He got hurt in camp. From East Ascension High School, the little running back that was committed to LSU. He was in the 2 deep in fall, but hurt the other knee. And so he's sitting out and redshirting for Oklahoma State. Coach Gundy's a good coach, to answer your question.
Do you ever, since you watch so much of the high schools, do you ever take 1 year and say, okay, all of these kids in the nation or in Louisiana were 5-star athletes? Do you follow them?
I don't use a star system.
Okay.
I use can he play at the high D1 level, mid D level, 1A, 1AA, D2, D3, junior college, prep school. And Coach, we can't talk about recruiting, but he knows what I'm talking about. There's a level that you know that D tackle, he can play at Florida as a freshman. That guy can play. He's got feet, he's got the size, but you can tell if they're ready yet, if they need to redshirt. A lot of your big D1s don't want to redshirt guys anymore. They want to give them a playbook and say, you fit the system. Well, a lot of those guys are going to some of the smaller D1 schools that are becoming superstars because they're gaining that 10, 15 pounds. But I don't use the star system because either you can play or you can't. You know, and I think a lot of kids aren't ranked, and they should be, and some kids are ranked too high because it's off of camps and stuff.
I got 2 questions. One, there's a little running back at Sulphur, number 3, that
Geller, yeah.
really had a really good game against Holy Cross. And is
Yeah.
anybody really recruiting that kid?
No, he's a great high school player. He's small. He's 5'4".
I think his instincts, or like you said, he can play football. He showed
Yeah, but he's what you call a great high school football player. You know, he's not.
So was Holiday at LSU.
Yeah, but
I
Holiday.
mean, he's about the same size.
But there was only one 5'5" Holiday, and he's not a Holiday. Guillory's about a 4'6" guy that looks 4'4" on the field. He's a great high school player. And he's about 140 pounds, 138. But yeah, good analogy, but Holiday just was a special guy that could run track and play football. You know, a lot of guys can run track, but they're not as good on the football field. But he had both. Trendon could cut. He wasn't a straight line runner.
I think the Sulphur kid was making moves. I mean, he was really tearing it up on the field that day.
Yeah, he's just never going to be over. He's not going to be a return guy, so he can't play running back at 138. He'll top out at 150, but he could go to a D3 school.
All right, my second question is, with all the talent that we've had in Louisiana over the years, do you have a certain year that you would rank the highest recruiting class?
I would say that the year Clayton came out, Michael Clayton and Marcus Spears, that group, you had 12 guys drafted in the first 2 rounds. And this class this past year is going to have the same amount. You know, Gerald Willis, Devontae Knoll, Fournette, Darrell Williams. You know, there's going to be 12, 15 of those guys.
Yeah.
But let me throw a sleeper out for you in the state. And it goes along with the star system is not something I like. But there's a tight end at Byrd and Shreveport. Remember this name, Michael Dunman. He's 6'6", 290. He's lean, meaning he looks 240. He's got long arms, like coaches love. He's got great feet, and he's a great blocker. He's not a tight end. He's going to move to tackle, like Andrew Whitworth did at West Monroe and LSU. He's going to be 320 in a year, 6'6", and go somewhere. And you'll hear about Michael Dunman. And at the end of the year, he might get some big offers, but he's not. I think he's a 1-star right now.
Sounds like a Louisiana Tech Bulldog.
Could be. By the way, his dad loves Notre Dame. His dad's 6'8", about 300 pounds. I met his dad at one of the games, and Notre Dame's not going to offer him. So there's no Notre Dame-Irish battle as of now. So, but I think Tech is not where he wants to go, but I think he'd be a great signee, yeah, if they can get him.
Anyone else?
Thank you.